Now I have the distinct pleasure of introducing to you someone whom you all know very well, a very dear friend of mine who is always there for us, one of the strongest patriots I know, who is out there speaking the words and giving us all the inspiration that we need to keep on with our message. And I'd like now to introduce Jeff Chidester to come up and lead us for the rest of the program.
Well, thank you. The members of the Seacoast Republican Women, are they here? Raise your hand if you're here. I have to tell you, I had the pleasure of speaking before this group on Friday, and what a bunch of warriors they are. Give them a great round of applause, because if we had everywhere. And then someone who's far too humble to really acknowledge how much she means to the Republican Party and how much she means to all of us, and someone who does not give herself enough credit, so we'll give it for her. Ladies and gentlemen, if we had 100 Diane bidders in this the easy part, all I have to do is read what Diane gives me. And for those of you who know Diane, the great thing about working with Diane is this, is that I never have to do any of my homework, because all I do is walk in and she hands me a script. And she actually gets it in the font that I can read too, so it's really good. This next person actually, unbeknownst to him, brought a welcoming committee he handled very well. And of course, I'm speaking of Congressman Frank Guinta. Congressman Guinta is the District 1 congressional representative for the state of New Hampshire, and he is in his freshman term as a U.S. Congressman, where he has set a record for being a champion of the people. Frank is also known for successful serving 2 terms as the mayor of Manchester, New Hampshire's largest city. As mayor, Frank delivered on his promise to reduce violent crime and cut taxes. Prior to serving as mayor, Frank served 2 terms as an alderman and 2 as a state representative from Manchester. Frank received his bachelor's degree from Assumption College in Worcester, Massachusetts, and his master's degree in intellectual property from Franklin Pierce Law Center in Concord, New Hampshire. He and his wife Morgan live in Manchester with their 2 children, Jack and Colby. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your Congressman, Congressman Frank Guinta.
Well, good afternoon. How's everybody doing? Hey! This, I have to tell you, this is a phenomenal turnout for a beautiful Sunday afternoon on the Seacoast. I mean, think about how many other things we could be doing, but it is so critical, so important for all of us to gather, talk a little bit about what we do best, winning elections, talk about how we're going to make sure that happens this coming November, because we do have, as Diane stated and others have stated, the most important election before us this year. I have had the privilege of representing you for the past 16 months as your representative in Congress, and it has really been a distinct pleasure. But I have to say, there's a few things I have seen that cause great concern for me, I think for many people in New Hampshire and many people across the country. And I want to talk a little bit about those things. Number 1, how many of you actually know that the Republican House of Representatives cut its own budget 11%? Few. You're not going to hear that from the regular media. You're not going to hear that we cut spending this year, the deficit, by $300 billion. You're not going to hear that we passed the repeal of the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare. You're not going to hear about 30 different jobs bills that we have passed in the House and sent over to the Senate. You're not going to hear how the Senate decided they are not going to take up a budget for not once, not twice, but 3 years in a row, almost 1,100 days now. Those are not the things that you hear when you go home, turn on the TV and listen to the news. What do you hear? What you hear is the President of the United States, who travels around the country campaigning, pointing fingers at everybody and anybody but himself, not taking responsibility for what leaders should do and need to do in times of economic and fiscal crisis. We all see what the challenges are ahead of us. We have a $1.2 trillion deficit. We have a more than $15 trillion debt. Our country is in fiscal crisis, and this is why we need to continue to elect good, fiscally sound and strong Republicans, not just from New Hampshire, but all across the country. And this is the election in 2012 that will finish what we all started in 2010. I am very, very humbled and honored to serve with 87 other Republican freshmen who, like myself, decided to run because they were fed up with what was going on in Washington. We have started the process of changing and reducing spending, getting back to basics, reducing the size of government, getting the bureaucracies of government out of your personal and professional lives. But we need a Senate and we need a president. I have spent 16 months traveling back and forth to make sure that New Hampshire's voice is heard every time we're on the floor of the House debating one of these pieces of legislation. But it's not enough. It is not enough. We finally have now a nominee for President of the United States. We all need to get behind Mitt Romney and make sure that Mitt Romney is the next President of the United States. While we don't have a Senate race here in New Hampshire, we've got 22 Democrat senators up for re-election. You watch, in the next 6 months, they are going to become very conservative all of a sudden. We're going to make sure that people all across the country know the difference between a Democrat and a Republican. And then finally here in New Hampshire, we will have, for the first time, we will be able to take back the governor's seat. We will. So we have lots to be optimistic about. And I'm proud to be part of this Republican team. I am proud to represent all people of New Hampshire when I go back to Washington. And I reflect on one thing. What is it that people in New Hampshire want me to do? You want me to be fiscally responsible.
Yep.
You want me to be able to have a strong advocacy for New Hampshire and our values. And you want to make sure that people around the country get how New Hampshire works and bring those values to Washington. And that's what I do each and every day. And I'm proud to do it, I'm honored to do it. And it's been a great opportunity, I think, just not for me, but for all of us, to start to unfold and unsee how Washington is actually working. Later this week, we're going to announce our campaign website, our new one, which is going to be Promises Made, Promises Kept. So I encourage you, when we unveil it later this week, go take a look at all the promises I made during the campaign and all the promises that I've actually kept. That's what it's about. When you campaign, you say you're going to do certain things, people elect you to do them, and then you get those things done. So we're very proud of where we are now, but we've got a very, very critical 6 months ahead. We want to make sure that we retain the 1st congressional seat, the 2nd congressional seat. We want to continue to support our great Senator Kelly Ayotte, who has been a tremendous friend to myself and Charlie and to all Republicans in New Hampshire. And we want to make sure that we work extra hard, because this is the election that matters. If you didn't like what happened in Barack Obama's first term, get ready for what a second term would look like. That is reason enough to make sure that we all work extra hard to make sure that we make him a one-term president. I want to thank you for allowing me to come. You got me out of finishing my mulch this afternoon. And I really do appreciate that, because I spent all day yesterday doing it and all morning today. And I said, sorry, honey, I got to go to Rye. She didn't see me packing my bathing suit and all that. But it's really a pleasure to be here. I come out to the Seacoast every single district work period that I'm back, because I want the Seacoast to know that they have a representative who understands and cares. And I appreciate the support that you've given me, and I hope that I've been a good member of Congress to you, and I look forward to representing you for another 2 years. Thank you all very much.
He really did bring his bathing suit, so.
GrokTV.